Aaron Rodgers, a name that once meant inevitability. A quarterback who, for over a decade, turned Sundays into a nightmare for defenses and a spectacle for fans. But now his future is hanging in the balance, and the NFL world is waiting for his next move. The New York Jets, a franchise that has spent years searching for a quarterback savior, thought they had found one. They believed Rodgers was the missing piece. They were wrong. Whether it was bad luck, bad roster construction, or simply the reality of expecting a 41-year-old quarterback to defy time, it never worked. Rodgers is out. The Jets are moving on. And now, Rodgers finds himself in unfamiliar territory, without a team, without a plan, and with limited time to figure it all out. So where does he go? Not just anywhere. This isn't a guy who's going to sign a one-year deal with a random franchise just to collect a check. He isn't looking to be a backup. He's not interested in being a mentor for some 22-year-old rookie. If Rodgers is playing in 2025, it's because he believes he can still win. That's why Miami makes sense. That's why Miami has to be the team that picks up the phone. Look at the Miami Dolphins. Look at their roster. Look at their explosive weapons. This is a team that, when everything is clicking, is nearly impossible to stop. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. The speed is ridiculous. The offensive design under Mike McDaniel is one of the most creative in the NFL. When it works brilliantly. But when it doesn't, it's frustrating. It's inconsistent. It's fragile. And all of that circles back to the most important position in football, quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa has done a lot of good things in Miami. He has shown flashes of being the guy. The franchise quarterback the Dolphins have been searching for since Dan Marino retired. He has had MVP-caliber stretches. He has led this team to the playoffs. But, and this is the part no one in Miami wants to talk about, he hasn't proven he can be relied upon for a full season. His durability has always been a question mark, and when he isn't on the field, the entire offense collapses. Skylar Thompson? No. Mike White? Not the answer. Miami has no plan B. That's why Aaron Rodgers makes sense. No, he isn't 30 years old anymore. No, he isn't in his prime. But do you know what he is? A future Hall of Famer with an insane amount of experience. A quarterback who still knows how to command an offense, and a player who, despite everything, still has enough left in the tank to be an asset. Imagine a scenario where Miami doesn't have to live or die by Tua's availability. Imagine a world where, if Tua struggles or gets hurt, they have Rodgers ready to step in. That changes everything. Now, let's address the obvious question. Is Rodgers still good enough to justify this? The stats from last season won't impress anyone. He looked hesitant. He looked slow. His decision-making wasn't as sharp as it used to be. His numbers, 3,897 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, were pedestrian by his standards. But context matters. The New York Jets were a disaster. Their offensive line, a complete liability. Their play calling, a mess. Their supporting cast, inconsistent at best. No quarterback was going to succeed in that situation. Rodgers walked into a bad fit, and it went exactly how you'd expect. That won't be the case in Miami. Rodgers wouldn't be asked to carry the team. He wouldn't be forced to play hero ball every week. He wouldn't have to scramble behind a broken offensive line hoping someone gets open. He'd be in a system that works, surrounded by elite talent, with a coach who actually knows how to scheme to his strengths. The pieces are there. Miami has built something special. They just need a quarterback who can ensure they don't collapse when things get tough. Here's where things get tricky. If Miami signs Rodgers, what does that mean for Tua? Some will argue that it sends the wrong message, that it undermines his confidence, that it creates unnecessary drama in the locker room. Maybe, but the NFL isn't about feelings. It's about winning. If Tua is truly the franchise quarterback, then he'll prove it. Competition isn't a bad thing. It forces players to elevate their game. It brings out the best in them. If Tua is as good as his supporters believe, then he won't be threatened by Rodgers. He'll welcome the challenge. And if he isn't, then Miami will have a backup plan in place. One that doesn't involve throwing away an entire season because their starting quarterback isn't available. There is no downside to this. One last thing. Let's talk about something that doesn't get mentioned enough when it comes to Rodgers, where he wants to be. Rodgers isn't going to sign with just anyone. At this point in his career, he wants a situation that makes sense. Somewhere he can enjoy life. Somewhere he won't be under constant scrutiny. Miami checks every box.